So today we're going to be talking about tech trends for 2023. And as I got to speak with our panel, I was really blown away by a lot of the work that we're doing. We have a wide swath from everything from agriculture to shipping to Adobe when we're doing SaaS work. And so what we wanted to do is a little bit of a different model. Rather than just going back and forth on questions, which we will get to, I thought it'd be really useful to talk about tech trends through the lens of what all of these gentlemen are working on. And so what we want to do is we'll start through by talking with Arthur's got a few slides, everyone's got a few slides that they'll go through and talk about these tech trends, and then we're going to have a dialogue around what we're looking at, what we're going through. So what I'll do is I'll turn it over to Arthur Lacroix first from Adobe and let you kind of go through some of the slide chat. And there's a mic right here. Yeah.
Hi, thank you, Michael, for having me. Thank you, everyone. I would start by saying that you have a beautiful taste of shoes, because we have the same. So it's not made up, actually. Good afternoon, everyone. So I am Arthur Lacroix. I am originally from France, but I am living in Boston here, so very close to the event. I started my career in France in marketing automation with a French startup that was called Neolane. So marketing automation, basically, at a very, very high level, is the tool we give to marketers so they can send any kind of messages to any channels to their consumer. So you're welcome for all the pushes, SMS, and emails you receive every day from the brand that's coming from us. So then, I started as an intern, and then Adobe acquired Neolane back in 2013. And at this time, Adobe had like 3 clouds. One was the Creative Cloud, the one with Photoshop, InDesign, etc. The other one, Document Cloud with PDF, Adobe Sign. And the third one that was called Marketing Automation, now Experience Cloud. It's where Neolane and marketing automation software fit alongside with Adobe Experience Manager. We talked about this one, Adobe Analytics. And Neolane was renamed Adobe Campaign. Sorry? Oh, okay, thank you. And now I'm a product marketing manager for B2C customer journey management. So think about customer journey management as a marketing automation, but on steroid, because we can still, do the batch email, do the newsletter, do the automated campaigns, but we can also now do one-on-one customer journey management. And we will see, what it is in details. This one is great. So, talking about what are like the big trends I see in my business. The first one is personalization at scale. So first, let's define what it is, right? Everyone has his own definition. So to me, let's define personalization first. So personalization to me is be able to send a customized experience to a customer through the right channel at the right time. And then at scale, personalization at scale is being able to do that, but for every of your customer, through every channels, and in real time. So that's how I will define personalization at scale. And in order to do personalization at scale, you need data. And we have told, all companies to keep the data. So now companies have like billions of like transactional data, behavioral data from their consumer that represent like petabytes of data in a data lake. And these data are oftentimes like really stored in silo. So you will keep data from your website that will be stored in a different way than the data you have from like your mobile app or from like the email channel, etc. So everything is like in siloed. So that makes it really hard to execute on personalization at scale. So what you need first is to reconcile all this data in order to execute on personalization at scale, and reconcile those data. So you need the right technology in order to stitch all the data together to create this like profile of your consumer to be able to send the right message to your consumer and really enable the personalization at scale. So really like deliver a personalized, customized message to every of your customer in your database through any of the touch point. Could be in store, could be at the ATM, could be on your website, everywhere, and be able to do that in real time. And now, I'm going to speak about more how AI can help marketers do their job better. So to me, the second trend is really the AI here. And so AI, to me, with my line of work, is really about freeing time for the marketers. So like automate tasks or like tasks that were like taking marketers hours to do. Now with AI, it's going to take them like seconds, and they will be able to be like more nimble, more agile, and really focus on what matters the most. Meaning, like for marketers, best communicate to their client, send the right experience to their client. So really be able to focus their work on that, versus having to play around with a tool they don't really know about, or like cutting lists, trying to make sense of a list of consumer they want to target, etc. So that work that we really want to automate and to make it very simple for marketers, thanks to AI. And for that we created a model we call like turnkey models, as we call it, for marketers to be able for them to access it very easily and not having to rely on like a data science expert resource at the company, right? So we need to give marketers a tool to really do it, right? Execute on it. And in like marketing software business, for instance, one AI feature that is very, very useful for marketers is like send time optimization. Being able automatically to know when to send and what to send to their customers through their preferred channel is very key for marketers. Once this is automated through AI, marketers can now focus on really knowing what experience they want to send to the client based on like a product launch or like through like geolocalization, like they have clients at this location and they want to target them based on their specific product or services, etc. Another thing that is very useful for marketers and that we are working on is text to something that's related to AI. So you type a text and it shows you directly populates you an image, for instance. So text to image. So let's say you are like a major coffee company, and I heard in Boston is very cold right now. So I want to populate an image with people drinking warm coffee in Boston during the winter. I write that on the web, and thanks to AI, I generate automatically an image of that I can use in my email and directly send my communication. So as a marketer, I can be very nimble, agile. I don't need to wait hours for the creative team to go back to me with this kind of image. So that's very important. Then there is text to templates. As a marketer, I want to create a specific email template or like a push template to send to my consumer. Same thing, I just type a text. I would like a template with like two personalization fields with like a 3 image space, etc. And it will generate the template automatically. So that's how, that's the two trends that I'm seeing right now, generative AI and the personalization at scale.
Beautiful, thank you. Next, we're going to turn it over to Erlani. If you have a mic, there we go.
Everybody, nice to be here. It's terrible to talk after Amy, but let's try. My name is Erlani Jr. I work as a head of architecture in FleetCor. FleetCor, the company, has owned the Semparar, the automated tool payments in Brazil. We own 8% of the market. I think there's somebody from Alelo here. Yes. I've been working the last 15 years exclusively in technology. I joined technology by a chance. My father was an accountant, so I stayed a long term waiting implementation of ERP servers and systems, and I spent a lot of time with the guys from IT before joining technology. Since then, I've been working on that. So I have a specialization in completing the specialization in artificial intelligence this year. Also, I have data specialization, and also a lot of knowledge in engineering. This is a design when our talking about and bring it to the context of this panel is about the redesign and reshape. This is our plan for the next 6 years, 8 years, considering we started in 19. The idea is to have a clear strategy about what our applications, infrastructure, deployment, and deployment process is running in our company. I'm talking today only about Brazil, but in 19 we have a lot of data center and on-premises. Even in our office now we are moving at the co-location, also starting increasing the cloud, and also we are moving our components for microservices, our function as a services in several clouds. Also now our strategy is focused in business agility. So I was explaining to Mike last week. So the product owners of our Agile and our Scrum teams is inside technology. So it's a big challenge if you consider Agile team bringing the product owners inside technology and not in the business. So we have a good partnership. And then the important thing is this design here. We change it, I don't know, by each 6 months or annually at least, to keep aligned with the business every year. So we have a good view of the future, but for example, the exchange between Brazilian real and dollar keep us sometimes very hard to keep the costs related with putting the things in the cloud. So sometimes you have to reduce and reshape our strategy. And to conclude, this is our current challenge, like resource consumption, system complexity, monoliths, duplicate code, and new business and internal, external. It's a basic of architecture that we are facing, and some strategies that we are applying. Again, we talking about data and API and in artificial intelligence. We are focusing on creating APIs and creating data as a service, like our strategy to growth and bring the more efficient for our process.
Excellent, thank you. Next, we will turn it to Wander Meyer. Wander, there we go.
I'm glad to be here. Thanks for the invitation. And currently I'm CFO at Fiagrill. That's agribusiness companies. That I am glad that I heard someone today talk about a little bit about agro when I was talking about PepsiCo. And I have been, I would say, 35 years working in agribusiness, 32 years in some other company, the last 3 years, 2-3 years in Fiagrill. I have a lot of it in terms of lived abroad and have some kind of a perception, different life in different places. And of course, it's always working in the finance area. That's my expertise from what I have been working. Talk a little bit about Fiagrill. Fiagrill is a company that is 35 years. In Brazil, it's not a very old company, it's a young company. We are placed in the center-east and the northeast and more north of Brazil with operation in terms of agribusiness, in terms of input sales, distribution, technical assistance to the farmers. We have right now, it's above 25 branches operations in Brazil. We negotiate, import and sales with different places in the world, specifically, Asia, at most of those places. And we are Chinese company with 6% controls, the shareholder of the company, and the other 40% remain with local shareholders, I would say, in Brazil. It is important when you talk about, I would say, it's agribusiness in Brazil. We have probably, today it's about 150 million metric tons of soybeans and 120 million metric tons of production of corn. When we do a connections between what we are figuring in terms of proposing, that what we are looking as lives and connect, I would say, our lives with sustainable production all over the world. I would say integrity, that's one of the values that we are looking for, that we strongly work in the company, and playing together, because the point is, we are not able to work, I would say, as alone. As I heard somebody else said before in terms of agro, you have a lot of things that you need from different places. And make it happen. That's one point that we are looking in terms to generate what is the better results sustainable for the company and for, I'd say, the agribusiness in Brazil. And in terms of digitalization, that's one of the process that is started, I'd say, it's about 2 years ago. Start to take a look, and that is on my left side here, that's the way that we are seeing Fiagro today. And I would say on the right side is more when we look for the future, how we are going to get, I would say, the digitalization information. We are looking forward to offer more kind of facilities, more agility to the customers. That's the end of the day. This is the one that we need to really support, that the customers that we need to create a relationship and maintain them. And there is a lot of things today that we want to make sure that we build those relationships and keeping those relationships with the customer. The other point is we want to bring, I would say, some kind of a more efficiency in terms of the agribusiness, the way that we are working. We need just to make a comparison, simple numbers here. We feed it's about 1 billion people when we look for the size of Brazil, the operation that we have in Brazil. If we increase 1% in terms of the productions, in terms of the efficiency, we are going to be able to feed another 10 millions of people. That makes a lot of difference. This is why we always mention that we want to create sustainable results that also enhance the company for the growth of the company as well.
Awesome. Thank you very much. Next, I'll turn it over to Jean Fumé at CLS Group, or CSL Group. I got it right.
Yeah, you got it.
Yeah, I did.
Good
Okay. Go right ahead, Jean.
So my name is Jean, and I am a geek. That's pretty much who I am. I'm the VP Digital of CSL, Canada Steamship Lines. I've been a CTO, CIO for 26 years. I've been in many different industries, and I've built and sold 3 businesses in tech. CSL is a near-shore dry bulk shipping company. We have over 75 ships around the world. Those long bulk ships that you see near the shore that don't do containers, right? We don't do that. We do all the bulk stuff that's inside. So we carry salt, sugar, grain, minerals, coal, rocks, everything that, and we have self-unloaders. It's the largest fleet of self-unloaders in the world, which essentially is conveyor belts that bring the stuff from the hold all the way out onto the shore, right? So that's who we are and what we do. The maritime industry is notoriously backwards in technology. Notoriously. I was in automotive for 7 years before, and I thought I had hit the bottom of the barrel. I was wrong. Maritime is worse because they don't need tech. You put in the stuff into the hold, you go to the next port, you take the stuff out, and you get paid. Everybody's happy. And so us tech people come along and say, we can optimize you, we can optimize you. And that's what we want to do, right? And so we want to talk about optimization, we talk about AI and what AI can do for us. And like Amy was saying, there's a lot of hype versus what the reality is. And the hype is easy to think about, those kind of robots that'll do everything for us. The reality is actually a lot more painful and a long, winding road, like is there. So, benefits of AI for us are multiple. Once we get there, we can safely do predictive maintenance on the parts of a ship, right? So the parts of the ship, we acquire the right data. We don't change the parts of the ship that the OEM tells us to change it every 2 years or every 3 years. We know exactly when that part is going to fail, and we can change it before it fails. That's an enormous cost savings for us. We can also maximize our ship capacity. Every time we load 1 more ton, we make more money. So it's as simple as that. We can also change the market, the pricing that we do based on market fluctuations in real time. with our clients. The biggest one, and the one that we're actually starting with now, is calculate fuel efficiency and make sure that our route is as optimized as possible to spend the less amount of fuel, which is our biggest cost, right? And we also switched to biodiesel fuel on our Canadian fleet, so for you ESG people, we are 100% biofuel, which is really cool at CSL. So it's almost like, I'm not done, go back. Thank you.
There you go.
It's almost as if we're trying to build a Waze for ships when there are no roads, right? But you have tons of different variables, like the weather, like the draft under the ship, like the waves, and everything that goes around it. And at the end, we also want to improve our scheduling and our dispatch, what it is that we're doing. So AI can do a lot for us. It can really transform this 150-year-old company, CSL is 150 years old, to something that goes into the future. But before we do that, we actually have to go through a very painful digital transformation process, like Amy was saying. So next slide. This is our roadmap. And I built the Maritime Innovation Roadmap that I'm presenting to the different government levels and to our competitors as well and our partners around the world. We want them to follow this kind of roadmap. In shipping, you first start with the business case and the use cases and identify all the variables that affect what's going to be your AI later on. Then you got to start thinking of your data sources. Where is that data going to come from? Well, you got third-party sources, you got your own personal business applications inside it, which are legacy applications, and you got to change, and there's a whole process there. And then you got to create digital twins. Like Amy was talking about, we're in the process of doing that. We have 2,000 different sensors, or we have 2,000 points of data every 5 seconds for each one of our ships, right? That's a lot of data coming in, creating a digital twin. And then you can do edge computing to start doing a lot of the work on board the ship before you send it out onto the satellite. Then you got to think about connectivity. You got all that data onto the ship, but then you got to think about bringing it into the cloud. And ships are mobile manufacturing plants, essentially. And the problem that we have is that we don't have a fiber plugged into the ship where we could just send out our data. We got to rely on satellite. And we got to rely on optimizing that very precious bandwidth that we have. And then you got crew members that want to watch Netflix, right? And so you're competing with that. I'm saying Netflix because I don't want to say the other stuff they want to watch. Yeah, I know. Right, yeah, we get it. And then there's LTE and 5G, right? And so that's the connectivity part. Once you got the connectivity part, you got to go onto the cloud, and you got to have a solid cloud infrastructure. Now, most of the maritime companies aren't even on the cloud yet. And I saw your slide, how you're going onto the cloud. That's fantastic. They're still on-prem, right? So how are you going to do the rest and go on to AI when you're still on-prem, managing your servers, literally in the basement of your IT guy because you didn't think it was important? Yeah, you can't do that. So you got to go on the cloud architecture. And then you got to secure that data, right? So you got to start thinking about all the cybersecurity stuff that you got to do and make sure that you don't get hacked. And we'll talk a little more about the cybersecurity after. Then you got to ingest the data and redo your whole data architecture to be able to acquire these data sources and to be able to analyze them later on. We're working with Avenue Code, Compass company, to redo our whole data architecture into a lakehouse. And then you got to do governance. You got to make sure that data stays clean, right? And then you got to map the data into something that is a shareable language with the rest of the industry. And then you got to report that data. So we have 2 types of reporting: real-time reporting for the captain and crew on the ship to know exactly where they are positioned so they can do ballast, which is release their used water, and where they can and can't do, tons of different regulations there. And then you got to analyze and do the BI and the business intelligence. And then you can start thinking of machine learning and start building learning patterns on the fuel and what it's doing, and then you can do federated machine learning, and then years down the line you can start thinking about AI and where it is that you're going. And then the dream, in our industry anyways, is electric autonomous ships where you have a lot less crew on the ship and they're electric, so no fuel, and they drive themselves. That's the dream, the utopia, eventually one day. But before we get to that, there's all these steps that we got to do. And so, next slide, when we look at everything that's needed for an autonomous ship, it starts with the data sources that we got in the back and what the business cases are and what it is that we're doing. So that's the message that I I echo and I repeat what Amy said. Digital transformation, to get to that shiny new object, there's a lot of different unsexy steps that got to be done before you get to the sexy part. All right?
Excellent. Thank you very much. We're going to turn it over to Jason from Trigger.
Hi everyone, I'm Jason Yim. I'm the CEO of Trigger XR. We're actually, if we can go to the next slide, we're actually the world's most experienced XR agency, so 300,000 hours. We focus very much on some key industries, so entertainment is big for us, so we did AR for Star Wars, Spider-Man, Jurassic last year, Avatar. On the sports side, actually, we won a gold Clio for this Pepsi project for the halftime show with RGA. We work with many other sports leagues as well. On the commerce side, Starbucks is a big client of ours. Actually, we're working with their Web3 loyalty program and using AR as actually a game and also a benefit for the consumers. And then on the enterprise side, we work with many automotive companies. So Honda, we work with their advanced design team to executive review of future vehicles. And then with Nissan, actually we're using kind of more nearer term headset UX prototyping for the future consumer experience, let's say in the backseat of the car. Our platforms, we cover all the AR platforms across the board. We were very early in this space, so it's been 100% focused in XR since 2016. So we were the first agency to create a Snap lens outside of Snap. We're the first to commercialize Web AR. We're a big partner of Niantic. And then on the HMD side, actually the logo's missing, we're a big Qualcomm partner. So I'll talk about that a bit. Next slide. So some of the clients across all the industries, I think the clear thing here is just that the broad application of XR for us, we really think that it is it will be the experiential and visual layer for computation in the future. So if you think about AI as the brain, XR is how you're going to see it and experience all that content. Next slide. So a couple of trends, AI and XR. So a few months ago, I met with Alexis and we were talking about, we were using Midjourney for the first time for a pitch for Coachella, actually. And it was like the first time we used Midjourney to win a pitch for Coachella. I think that was like late summer last year. And now every single one of our projects, we are using some sort of generative AI at the pitch phase. We don't use it to create the final product. It's only for the ideation phase, inspiration, quickly get visuals in front of a client. For the final work, we will actually build it from scratch. On the end product side, this is what's actually the consumer can see. So in the upper left, with Verizon, we're doing a virtual assistant that's volumetrically captured, then turns into a complete synthetic human with a digital voice, and then also a AI backend for Q&A. Actually, with Compass, there's a Roblox project right now where we are. This will be the first commercialization of AI in Roblox with characters for retail. So you can actually interact with characters in a retail environment. It'll be for Alpine Electronics, where you can actually talk to the characters, and they will push you down towards like a sales funnel, but full conversation. Other places where AI tools are super important on the consumer side is actually what the camera sees. So it's an understanding of the world around you. So not only like conversation and information, but the camera and the app is actually knows what the person's doing in front. So on the left, this Avengers project, there's hand tracking, there's body tracking. There's the first time using Snap's ML library. So this was a partnership with Disney, Google, Snap, and actually Verizon, because it only worked on 5G phones. The middle one is Jurassic. So this is with Niantic. So this is the first time using semantic understanding. So the camera actually understands the scene it's looking at and gives you the dinosaur that fits in that scene. So you need a big enough space. It sees the sky, it sees trees, it sees grass, and the dinosaur will behave depending on what the environment is around you. And then on the bottom right is with our partner InWorld. It's an AI chat persona solution. This is the first web AR application of that. So, next slide. And then the other thing that we think is a big trend for us in the near future is everything moving to HMD. So we know this is a little further away for consumers ultimately, but all the big players, we're kind of prepping that step now. And how do you combine that with AI as like the brain? So on the left, one thing that came out of kind of all this work in HMDs on the client side on the right is that the authoring and the design also has to have different tools. So we are, on the left, those are examples of actually designing and sketching in headset versus doing it in 2D and then transferring it to headset because it doesn't actually translate as well. So it's much faster if you design in actual on headset. And then on the right are examples of like HMD applications right now. So funny that Amy talked about cooking on the upper left. That's a Qualcomm cooking project where we're able to ingest 1 million recipes and be able to show it in AR. The one on the upper right is actually with Honda. So this is a visualization of LA in 2040. There's still a bunch of traffic. That didn't get fixed. But that experience is full mixed reality with haptics, with 6-DoF seats, with wind machines, with smell machines. On the bottom left is a Verizon project for the NFL where we're teaching a playbook for the players. So imagine you have a linebacker. If they improve their retention of the playbook right now that they're seeing as a binder, about this thick, just paper binder, that performance can translate to scoring on the team, and that's a huge monetary lift for the entire team. And then on the bottom right is another Qualcomm project. This is with Duran Duran, if you guys are Duran Duran fans, where we're kind of reinventing the music engagement experience for fans. So.
That's awesome. All right. We're going to turn it over to Ivan.
Hello, Michael. Hi, everybody. It's a pleasure to be here with you guys today. So I'm Ivan. I'm CEO from WebJump. WebJump is a part of the group Compass now. And I am the technology lover, always like technology, so I'm very excited about this happening right now with the world and all transformation that we are living. So about WebJump, WebJump is an Adobe partner, so we work with Adobe in the last 13 years. Developing e-commerces in Brazil and around the world. So we are responsible to build the biggest B2B commerces in Brazil and in Latam. And right now we are working with the entire suite of Adobe and all personalization at scale that Adobe can offer for us. So in the next slide, so we are a company driven by innovative engineering. So at the beginning, I already was a software engineer and working the projects. So right now, we are guiding here together this transformation with Adobe. So next slide for me. About Adobe Experience Cloud portfolio, so we are very specialized in e-commerce development, but we also work with all products from since target analytics and audiences and marketing tools. So we are right now expanding our operation to work here in the United States with our brothers company that works here, which is part of the group that is Content Thread. We are working together in the same portfolio, Adobe portfolio. And when I talk about technology, I am the guy that believes in the good side of AA Gen or only in AA. I believe that it's a technology that is coming to help us to be better and to help us to fix a problem that we have today. We suffer a lot with COVID in the pandemic, with missing people to work in our business, and I think that with the Gen AI, we can be more productive and we can deliver a project faster than before, and then we are capable to fix this problem that there is people missing in the world and ready to develop projects, and that is why here. No,
You're good?
next time.
Okay.
This is what I believe. So I think this is time to use the technology advantage more than ever to accelerate our businesses. And we need to continuous learning and understand which is this power of technology that AI can bring for us to transform the world.
Excellent. All right. So thank you all for sharing. We had been talking and hearing what they're all working on. I thought was really cool. And so I actually had a question for you, Arthur, that was really related to what we were talking, what Amy was talking about, which is the idea of automation and AI. My question for you, I wrote, is it going to replace our jobs in the future or create new ones? It could also be, is it a dystopian future or is it a utopian future, right? And I'd like to hear kind of your take on that.
Yeah. Thank you. Yeah, so to me, it's not going to replace job. To me, AI, and especially what we're working on, is to eliminate tasks that can be automated, right? So to free up time for marketers, for creative people, to really focus on the creativity, right? On the creativity for creative people, on like delivering meaningful experience for your consumer if you're a marketer. So it's really, being able to type a text and then you have like a beautiful image that you can reuse. You still need the brain of a creator to type the text and then like work a little bit on the image, take out something of the image, and especially on that, like think about when, as a Photoshop user, I need to take a tree out of the image or like take a specific thing out of the image. Yes, I can do that, but it takes me a minute. Well, tomorrow I can do that through AI, so I can just tell the software to do that and it will do it itself, right? So for me, it's a gain of time and I can focus more on my creativity and I can focus more on creating meaningful experiences. So it's not going to replace jobs to me, but it's going to make a job more efficient, and people can really focus on what they hopefully like to do for that.
Excellent. I'm actually going to pose the same question to you, Jason, because I'd like to see if you agree or disagree with what Arthur's saying in terms of how AI is going to either replace or help us from a digitization perspective.
Yeah, I mean, I think like just seeing what we have going on in our shop right now, we definitely see it as a kind of an accelerant to the work. I think there is going to be fear that eventually, as it gets more and more powerful, it can replace a whole person. But at least for the, I think, foreseeable future, I think that those that embrace it, it'll help them become a superpower and get much better at it. And then hopefully it evolves into another skill set for that person later on.
Excellent. Thank you. So I'm going to turn a question over to Wander, because I know you've been working in the agricultural industry. What are the major challenges of digitalization implementation, and how are you going to process this change management to be able to acquire talent and continue to do this journey, especially in the ag business?
Well, might take a little longer to answer all those challenges that we have, but I mean, pick it up at, I'd say, 2 of them or 3 of them. First one is talent. We are a little bit far from those big places. We are placed in Mato Grosso. We are placed in a place that is lower number of talent in this case because it's a lower number of people, and also it's a big war for talent in this case. And what we can see these days is there is a lot of change out in the world in terms of how people want to work. And some people want to be, 3 times at the office, sometimes they want to be 2, and there is a lot of people say it's a hybrid and so on. It means there is a lot of changes, and you need to adapt to those changes as well. And sometimes the company does not have the same flexibility of the people is looking for. And then you are not able to really keep those talent. In other words, we are working hard to find out all those alternatives that we need to in order to develop people to keep talent, and I would say attract talent, but always it's a tough point at these days. The other one that we talk about digitalization, I mean, it's a change management. Change management means it's not just, I would say, from the company side, that is also from the customer side, because we are offering them different products, different way to take a look. If you remember, many of us a little bit, I would say, after, I would say, above 40 years old or so, years ago when you want to see some bank statement, sometimes you are not trust what you saw in your computer. You want to go to the bank and to look for I would say the balance in terms of the bank statement. In other words, we need to change the culture of those customers in order to understand and see the information become reliable as bank become reliable these days. In other words, that is a long way to go in terms to prove what is in terms of the credibility that you have, and also the way that you're going to change the way that people is looking for those information. So,
yeah, excellent. Thank you very much. So, Jean, you are talking about autonomous ships and lots of bulk materials moving near shore. Obviously, there's things around cybersecurity and we're going to protect those types of loads. I'd love to hear from you, just like I saw your roadmap, but I'd love to hear from you a little bit more about cybersecurity and where you guys look at that.
Yeah, cybersecurity is a huge preoccupation for us now. Ever since the Russian-Ukraine war, it's become an even bigger preoccupation. At CSL, we have had an increase of 1,600 times the attempts on our system since the Russian war. And the reason is that if you attack the beginning of the value chain, you're going to disrupt everything else after it, right? So if you attack the grains being brought out of Odessa in Ukraine, then people in Africa don't eat, right? And so one of the big problems that we have in our industry is that the International Maritime Organization, the IMO, that sets the rules out for the industry, set a very low bar for cybersecurity. And said, this is good enough, right? Or you at least need to do that. And so some companies interpret that and say, well, that's fine, that's good enough, right? It's not. If you're IMO standard, you're going to get hacked, and your operations will get disrupted, right? So it's a guarantee. So you got to be industry standard. And that's some of the big challenges we have in maritime, is to say, forget the maritime standards, you got to be in normal industry technology standards, right? And so that's some of the education that we got to do towards the industry. When the Coast Guard organized a conference with the Canadian government to talk about cybersecurity and maritime, and we were invited, and we gave our opinion, which I'm very vocal about. And I asked them, I said, when are we going to have, or what will it take to have a minimum standard by the Canadian government for the maritime industry on cybersecurity? And the answer came, well, the insurance companies will tell us what's necessary.
That's a great answer.
And that is the worst answer ever. So if anybody's watching from the government, we got to change. There we go.
Excellent. We've got about a minute left, so I want to actually ask Erlani a quick question. So we talked this morning just a little bit about hybrid work versus remote work. And I wanted to just get your opinion, as you've been all over the place, worked at a lot of different companies. I'd love to hear kind of your take on this. Just a minute left.
One minute.
Yes, 1 minute. So just
30 seconds.
Just one more, please.
I was talking to you. I have one guy working in Colombia. I think it's a cultural change that we have to do. Few companies don't accept the returning for the office. Sometimes we are discussing with the professor that we have here about how the next generation will be, the professionals, the brand new guys from the university will be prepared for the market, this kind of relationship that I believe is a cultural change. I think the companies need to learn to work in an offline way, like you don't only send in your instant message platform hello and waiting for a message. You must say hello, this is my problem, I'm waiting for your answer, or like an email. You must start to discuss things offline in a synchronous, not offline, but in a synchronous mode, like I need you, this kind of thing.
That's awesome. All right, so I know we're a little past time, so we'll cut it off there. But thank you all very much. This was an awesome and educational panel. So thank you for your time, guys.